everyone. So today, we're going to talk about something you've probably heard buzzing around, vibe coding. It's this powerful, super exciting, and yeah, let's be real, kind of risky new way to build software.
It sounds a little out there, right? Can you really just feel your way through an entire application and just let an AI do all the heavy lifting? Well, the answer is kinda. And we're about to break down exactly what that means.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what vibe coding actually is. Then we'll get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, what it's great for and where it can go seriously wrong. From there, we'll walk through a 3-step framework to do it safely. And then we'll wrap it all up by talking about the bigger picture.
All right, let's dive right into section 1. What does it actually feel like to code on a vibe? Well, picture this. You're in your code editor, but instead of typing everything out, you're basically just having a conversation with your AI assistant.
You know, at its heart, vibe coding is this really fast back and forth. You give the AI a prompt, something like, hey, create a Java banking API for me, and use these dependencies. Bam! The AI spits out a big chunk of code. Now, you're not reading every line. You run it, see what breaks, and you just prompt again. Okay, that didn't work. Fix that error. It's this constant loop of prompt, generate, iterate, until it just works.
And this is exactly why it's so appealing. It is ridiculously fast, and you know what? It's a lot of fun. You can spin up a whole application, build a quick command line tool, or just mock up a user interface in a tiny fraction of the time it would normally take. It's absolutely perfect for getting a demo or a prototype out the door at lightning speed.
Okay, on to section 2, because as cool as all that sounds, it's not all perfect code and high fives. That incredible speed comes with some pretty serious trade-offs, and you absolutely need to know about them before you start shipping anything you've vibe-coded.
So let's look at the two sides of this coin. On the one hand, yeah, you get that amazing speed for demos and scaffolding. But the flip side is where the trouble starts. AI models can hallucinate. That's a nice way of saying they just make stuff up, like calling a function that doesn't even exist. This whole process also kind of encourages you to skip the important stuff, like writing tests. And here's the big one. It can open up massive security holes, like hard-coding a secret API key right into your code for anyone to find. Not good.
So how do we get all that speed without the chaos? Well, the answer isn't to just stop vibe coding. It's about doing it with discipline. And we can boil that down to a really simple but powerful 3-step framework. Architect, implement, and review. These are the guardrails that are going to keep you safe. Let's dig into that first step, which is our third section. Architect with intention. Honestly, this is the most important part of the whole process. Before you even think about writing a prompt, you need a plan. You have to be the one guiding the AI, not the other way around. And there are 2 great ways to do this. First, there's classic test-driven development, or TDD. By writing your tests before you write the code, you're giving the AI a super clear, concrete goal. Its only job is to write code that makes your tests pass. Simple. The other way is spec-driven development. Here, you write a detailed outline of what you need, basically giving the AI a checklist to follow. Either way, you're providing that structure that's so critical. Okay, so once you have your plan, it's time for step 2, our 4th section, implement with tools. You can't just let the AI go wild here. You need to give it the right gear to keep the whole process under control.
This means you gotta give the AI the right context. Make sure it has access to the latest libraries and documentation so it's not working with old, outdated code. And this is a big one, you have to use proper version control like Git. This is non-negotiable. As the AI is pumping out code, you need to be able to track every single change, compare different versions, and have a giant undo button for when things inevitably go off the rails. It is your safety net.
And that brings us to our third and final step in the framework, Section 5, Review with Rigor. You could argue this is where the real work of a developer is today. Remember, the AI is your assistant, not your replacement. At the end of the day, you are still the one in charge.
So you absolutely have to review the AI's output. Run your standard linting and type checks, scan for any vulnerabilities in the dependencies it decided to pull in, and please scan for hard-coded secrets. Now here's a really great pro tip. Try using a second, totally different AI agent to review the code. It can act as a kind of unbiased second opinion and catch things that your first AI, or maybe even you, might have missed. All right, that brings us to our final section, power and responsibility. We've gone through the process, but what's the philosophy behind it? What does it really mean to be a responsible, effective vibe coder?
Look, I know it's a cliché, but it has never been more true than it is right now.
These AI tools give us as individual developers a ridiculous amount of power to create things. And with that power comes a professional responsibility to make sure the things we build are safe, secure, and reliable.
And the really great news is that the tools themselves are getting smarter all the time. Most of the AI coding assistants out there can be trained to understand your project's specific rules, your preferred libraries, your coding style. You can teach them to follow your architecture and even help you with that review process, which saves you time while keeping that quality bar high.
So as we wrap this up, just remember, vibe coding isn't some gimmick. It's a real, fundamental shift in how we're going to be creating software. The power is officially in your hands. So the only real question left is, how are you going to use it? Thanks for tuning in.